Hey, everybody. Back in the saddle again for another edition of Montreal Hockey Talk. And don't look now, but the Habs are in a playoff spot. Hey, gang. Costa here from Montreal Hockey Talk, welcoming you to this March 18th edition. And first of all, I got to apologize for being gone for a little bit of time. I was sick. My wife's not feeling well. So I had to take care of business close to home. But we're back tonight. And of course, in a big way, the Montreal Canadiens beating the Ottawa Senators by a score of 6-3. And they've got a wild card spot. Not only that, but they also are 2 games in hand on the New York Rangers, who are just a point behind. So they're sitting in a very good spot. And judging by the reaction to Josh Anderson as the first star tonight, and the way the fans reacted to the proposition of the Canadiens making the playoffs, everybody's excited. The Habs still with 16 games left, 71 points on the board already, and more to come, hopefully, especially this coming Thursday against the Islanders. But all things being equal, this game could have gone a different way. One of the ways it could have is that the Canadiens were giving the puck away like candy, as were the Senators. It wasn't the Senators' greatest game either. But you know, one of the things that you don't want your team to do is give away the puck. One way the Canadiens were doing that is by losing faceoffs the entire night. They were not good in the faceoff dot. And granted, you have some better faceoff guys on the Senator side, including the ageless Claude Giroux and, of course, Brady Tkachuk. So, you know, the Canadiens are already at a disadvantage. They've only got a couple of guys that win faceoffs on a regular basis. You know, Nick Suzuki being among the best in the league, just hovering around 52%. Excuse me. But really, I mean, it's there's not much to say as far as that's concerned, but it cost them a goal tonight. You know, when Blake Batherson came down the ice and ripped that shot top cheese on Sam Montembeault early in the hockey game, I mean, you know, everybody's kind of sat back and said, wait a minute, that shouldn't happen. And they're right. The Canadiens, that could have easily gone the other way on them, because there was no back check. They let the defenseman back in. There was no real place for them to go. Batherson did a great job taking the ice that they were being given to him. They didn't have a good gap, and lo and behold, he had a nice shot from the slot, nothing Sam Montembeault could do. And Montembeault was good tonight at certain times, and at others, he didn't look very good at all, especially not on the Travis Hamonic goal. And there's where this game could have changed. You know, the Canadiens, coming into the third period, down by a goal, they were starting to build a lot of momentum. Actually, sorry, I won't say down by a goal. They were tied at 2-2. And they were building momentum. The fans were into it. Everybody was into it. And Sam Montembeault gives up what our friend Tony Marinaro calls a banana. It's a goal that should never have gone in. And I'm never going to say that our goal is easy to stop for a goaltender, because they never are. But when it's a simple shot like that from the outside, you know, defenseman's a little bit off balance, doesn't really get a lot on the shot, and it goes under your pad and in, it makes your goaltender look really bad. And I don't, you know, when you come to think about it and you look at the replay, it kind of looks like Montembeault wasn't expecting that shot to be on goal to begin with. I think he kind of lost his net a little bit, and that shows in his positioning. So, you know, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I've been very hard on Monty, but tonight he made big saves, especially in the first period. The save he made where the puck was bouncing around, and then I forget who it was that ripped it on goal and he put it into his glove. And that's a save for the ages. And, you know, he got a standing ovation, rightfully so, by the fans. But, you know, by and large, those saves are few and far between. And that's where Monty needs to be a little bit better. If this team's going to push for the playoffs and they're going to be in that wild card spot, they need to get a little bit better goaltending. And Monty's been good since the Four Nations Cup. I will not take that away from him. But those bad goals, which I really can't blame him for, because, again, I'm going to go back to the coaching. You know, he's playing a different style in goal where he's standing up a little bit more upright. He doesn't have his stick on the ice, and it takes him a little bit more time to get down on the butterfly. I think that's why the Hamonic goal beat him. And so, you know, I'm not going to lay this blame on him. He's doing what he's being taught. Oftentimes he does it very well. Other times it doesn't work out as well as you might think. So, you know, there has to be some correction there, but he's doing his best. And that's all you can ask for at this point of the season. He's the Habs' number one goaltender. He's got to be a little bit better. He's got to be faster. those goals can't go in. That's all I have to say about that. But Monty's been very good. Don't get me wrong. 22 on 25 tonight, but a couple of those shots were really good. So let's leave it at that and move on to something else. And that something else is, holy shit, Christian Dvorak had 4 points and he wasn't the first star of the hockey game. Who the hell gave the stars out tonight? Okay, granted. They gave it to Josh Anderson, and I think Anderson didn't get it just for tonight's game. I think it was an accumulation of all the beatings and hard work that this man's put through all season long. And you got to give him credit, because last year, much maligned, everybody was on his ass. Anderson was finished. Get rid of him. We don't want him here anymore. He's overpaid. He's this. He's that. Marty St. Louis does one simple thing. He takes him to the side. He says, I'm taking you off the power play. I'm going to have you go out there and be more of a checking forward. You're going to get some penalty kill time to give you added minutes, but I want you to focus more on your 200-foot game than just scoring goals. Anderson was all for it. I think he needed the break from all the pressure, and lo and behold, here we have the Josh Anderson that everybody wanted to see. He's physical, he's scoring goals, he's getting points, and he's being a leader. And that's what you want from a guy like Josh Anderson. The Canadiens don't have too many veteran leaders. It's a very young team. So when you look at this line of Dvorak, Anderson, and Gallagher, it's leadership personified. Sure, you get the leadership of guys like Nick Suzuki, who scored the game winner tonight. But by and large, if your veteran forwards don't lead by example, your younger players think it's a free-for-all a little bit. And, you take into account Yoel Armia. Granted, Armia was, okay tonight, but he's playing with a really bad wrist. And every time that guy was taking a shot, he was grimacing. So you know what? Give the guy some props, because going out there and playing against the Ottawa Senators when your team needs you despite an injury, like Josh Anderson, there's something to be said there. And you got to talk about that character. These guys are willing to kill themselves for each other, to make this push a reality. And, tonight's game, sure, like I said, Suzuki getting a goal tonight. But if you look at the game overall, it was the breakaway by Dvorak that got everything going on a great pass from Gallagher. Anderson scoring the tying goal at 3-3. There's Anderson scoring the insurance marker at 5-3. I mean, there's so many things. And of course, Gallagher scoring the empty netter and getting a couple of assists on his own. He had a 3-point night. I mean, when you look at that line as a whole, there's nothing to be said tonight. If it's not for that line, the Canadiens don't win. It's as simple as that. And that comes down to the fact that, the teams were playing strength against strength. Suzuki versus Tkachuk. You had the second line of Ottawa, Laine, and Newhook going up against Claude Giroux's line. I mean, there's a lot to be said there. You got strength versus strength. And the Canadiens' third line was better than the Ottawa third line. That's where the game was won, in the trenches. So let's call it what it is. It's a hell of a game by the third line. They're the reason why the Canadiens won. Secondary scoring. It's what they need to make this push a reality. And they got it tonight in droves from Dvorak, Gallagher, and Anderson. Now, one thing that I saw this week that really pissed me off was somebody on social media, and I'd be remiss. I forget who it was. But somebody on social media turned around and said that, they should have never signed Patrick Laine. They should get rid of him. He's a bum. He's this, he's that. And then you take a look at Patrick Laine since the Four Nations Cup. And there have been games where he has not been at his best. Tonight, there were glimpses of him being the best player and the second overall pick a few years back. But then you saw the bad part where he's trying to do too much and he's sending cross-ice passes onto the tape of the Ottawa Senators. So, I can see what people think about him, given some of the mistakes that he's making on the ice. But here's the thing. It's his first year back full-time in the league, right? Since he was in the league's assistance program. And, coming in, got injured, took that knee from Perry. He was out until, I think, the beginning of December. And then he comes back, and he's producing. Patrick Laine has never been a force at 5-on-5. Sure, he's going to give you some of those goals off the rush that, hit the highlight reel. We haven't really seen them yet, but they will come when, he's back to the Laine of old when, his confidence at 5-on-5 is where it needs to be. But right now you're seeing progression. You saw him tonight. He was physical along the boards. He was beating the puck to his line mates. He fed it a few times over to Newhook, and Newhook needed to put stickum on his blade because, holy hell, he can't keep a puck on his stick if his life depended on it. But that's not Laine's fault, and he's doing what he's expected to do. He's creating space for his line mates. Joshua Ottawa got a couple of chances as well tonight, in tight on Ullmark. So don't bash the guy. Stop saying that he's a bum, that, he shouldn't be on this team, you should bench him. No. I could see him missing shifts when he makes a mistake or late in the third period, like tonight. The Canadiens needed to defend with the empty net. Laine did not see the ice until it was 6-3. And I think he'll be the first one to say, yeah, I shouldn't be out there. I'm not the strongest player defensively. Sure, he'd like to get an empty net goal. But reality is reality. And the one thing that we know about anything on this team is the fact that the coaching staff, whether it's Marty St. Louis, Trevor Letowski, or Stefan Robida, they communicate with their players, and they let them know exactly what they're thinking so that there's no gray area, and the guys know it's black and white. And so I'm sure that Marty St. Louis has had this discussion with Laine to turn around and say, you know what, Patrick, when the chips are on the table, unless I really need a goal, I'm not sending you out there when the other team's got an empty net, when they have the extra man on the ice. And I'm sure Patrick turned around and said, you know what, Coach, I'm not there yet. But I will get there eventually, hopefully. And that's all you can ask. And so don't expect something that the coaching staff isn't expecting from a player. He's expecting goals in the power play. He's expecting contributions offensively, whether it's at 5-on-5 or with the extra man. But he's not expecting defensive prowess from number 92. So leave well enough alone. Stop bashing the guy for stuff he can't do, because we all know he can't. And move forward. Your team's in a wild card spot. This isn't the Marc Bergevin era where, they made the Cup final in 2021, which was great, but you knew the team every other year wasn't really going to get there. They had a tough time getting to the playoffs every single season that Marc Bergevin was a GM. Sometimes they missed, sometimes they did it. But right now what's being built is a team that's modeled on consistency. An ability to be able to be consistent throughout the season, not just in spurts. And this year, the Canadiens have been relatively healthy. So you know what? They've gotten contributions when they've needed them from their players. Whether it's Evans early on in the season or Suzuki, who got his 70th point and is the fastest player to get 70 points since Turgeon and Damphus back in 1996. That's almost 30 years ago. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. There's a lot of good this season for the Canadiens. Okay? They've gone from being 37 points out of a playoff spot to 11 to now being in one at this point of the season. Stop. Smell the roses, guys. This is where you want this team to be at this point of the rebuild. And you got to give a lot of credit to the GM and the director of hockey ops, Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton, because they could have gone out and tried to augment this team and make them better for a playoff push this year. But the team's going to make the playoff push all on their own. And they didn't have to sacrifice their beliefs or their plan in the rebuild to be able to do that. So stop bitching, guys. There's no need to. I was the one, if you remember back in the early days of Montreal Hockey Talk, we were out there bitching and complaining all night long. Whether it was about David Desharnais or whether it was about, anything. Marc Bergevin not making trades, whatever the case may be. We bitched about a lot of things on the show early on. Now, it's a different time. It's not those Canadiens. It's not that administration. You've got a different owner now, in the way Jeff Molson is thinking. He's allowing his team to rebuild itself. And I mean his team in the sense that the coaches, the players, and management. He's not getting involved. He's not making any pushes. He's not telling guys what to do. He's signing the checks, smiling, and that's it. And that's what an owner should do in the National Hockey League. Shouldn't be involved, So here we are. Canadiens have 16 games left. They're in a wild card spot. They've got games in hand. They're in a very good spot. So let's stop bitching and start enjoying, because now in come the New York Islanders. And the Islanders are making a playoff push all on their own. So, you know, the Rangers, they've got 14 games left, and I know somewhere in this world my friend Paul Cuthbert is freaking out because they're not playing good hockey, and he's going to claim he's not watching, but I know he does watch Rangers hockey. I'm going to leave that alone. But, you know, the Islanders are a different animal. The Islanders are a very good hockey team. They're very well coached by Patrick Waugh. Sure, they're not where he wants them to be, but they're young, just like the Canadiens are, and they're going to get better. And right now they're fighting to get into playoff position, just like the Canadiens are. So you can't take them lightly. Despite the fact that they're lower in the standings, it doesn't mean that this team is any worse or any better than the Canadiens. I would say if you look at any of the teams from Ottawa all the way through, and I would even throw Tampa in there, there's a lot of parity in the bottom part of the Eastern Conference standings. It doesn't matter who you look at. Granted, Philadelphia, the Penguins, they're struggling to maintain their playoff position or even their chances to get into the playoffs. But, if you look at anybody between, the two wild card positions, all the way down to about, I would say, maybe 4 or 5 positions down, the teams are very even. There's a lot of parity there. And when you look at them, none of them have standout goaltending. A lot of them are young. They're pushing hard. They're doing their best. And that's all anybody can ask for, right? That's what we ask for from our Montreal Canadiens. And that's what Islanders fans are asking for from their team. And they're in on this full support. If you watch Islanders games, the fans are nuts. They yell, they scream, they support their team. And what do we have? Sure, we've got the smartest hockey fans in the world. But we're not the most patient group, are we? And I'm guilty of that, just like you are. So let's get off everybody's back. Let's enjoy the hockey. It's going to be a great game on Thursday night against the Islanders, and then after that, let's see. If the Canadiens get another 2 points, they're in an even better position, right? But they're not going to win every game from here down the stretch. The important thing is that they just should win against the teams that are behind them. Any one of them. Take a look at Columbus, the Rangers, Islanders, Penguins, Philly, anybody that's behind them in the standings. They should be able to beat them. As long as they get solid goaltending like they've been getting. The D bends but doesn't break. And most importantly, like I said off the beginning of the show, they get secondary scoring. Without that secondary scoring, you're a one-line team and it becomes tougher to win. But when you get that balance between all, I'd say top 3 lines. 4th line, you don't expect much of a contribution, but if you get one, it's icing on the cake. So let's see what happens against the Islanders. Go Habs, go. Stay happy, folks. And remember, there's worse things in life than your team rebuilding. We've been at this for 2.5 years, almost 3 now, right? We've gotten past that hump where the team was really shitty, got better, but was still shitty. And now, oh, wait, we're about to go over the top, but can we not? I guarantee you next year it's going to be a little bit different. Enter Jacob Fowler and maybe a Michael Hage into the program, and maybe it gets a little bit better than that. And then if you take a look at the draft picks and the way the team is built and what we've got in Laval, there's a lot of structure there. And the farm team's really strong. And the development's getting better because you've got the right coaching in place. You've got Pascal Vincent there, who's been in the NHL, and he knows what it means to be an NHL player, and he runs the Rocket like an NHL team when it comes to the locker room and the way the players conduct themselves. So the Canadiens are in a good spot. It's not Sylvain Lefebvre. It's not J.F. Houle, who did a good job but wasn't quite the guy that should have been there. Everything is falling into place. We've got good pieces in place for coaching. We've got good pieces in place for management, and we know we've got good pieces in place as far as the roster is concerned. So let's go, Habs, go. And I'll see you on Thursday.